I'm a professor at Macalester College where I teach literature and writing. I don't know what else is relevant. We'll find out as we discuss.
All right, so I see that we do have a few people who were nice enough to wait, and I appreciate that, everybody who did that. That's
Fantastic. Thank
fantastic.
you. Thank you,
Thank you
people who
very
waited.
much. Yeah. I did throw on it that we're recording this. I don't know if we always record them, but I thought we wanted to capture at least as much as we could, and then probably put it up for people to look at later. Sorry.
No worries, no worries. We'll just accept it's a weird night.
It's
Everyone's
kind of
still,
it's a
yeah.
2020 night. Yeah, okay. It's
Yeah,
totally
yeah,
great.
this
Totally great.
is
So the people that are out there, would you guys like to post a question or a comment or anything? I'm wide open. I will admit I have not read the book. So
no worries, no
I'm the
worries.
world's worst fill-in. So if you want to give us the blurb,
I will,
I
I
would
will.
love that. I would love the blurb.
Oh, good.
You're being so patient.
I should dramatically read you the blurb.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna just tell it to you because I just had to reread it to remember what my book's about. So I'm gonna say that, and thank you, Nancy, for your comment about me being finally visible. It was worth the wait.
Yes, yes.
Yes. So anyway, my new book actually comes out on Tuesday. So this is Sinclair,
nice.
which is like my newest. So it's
Perfect.
funny because I've been doing a lot of publicity for that. So then I was like, oh, I gotta go talk about In the Silences. Okay, I gotta remember. And it's still really good. I read parts of it. It was nice.
Well, that's always good when you think that.
So here's what it's
problem.
about.
Yeah,
Yes.
sometimes.
Yes. It's sad when you go back and read something and you're like, oh, I could have done better.
Yeah. I know that one too.
Yes, yes. So it's basically, I mean, it's my anti-racism book, but because I write young adult and I like things to be lighthearted when possible, it's
Sure.
also about comic book superheroes and
Wow.
sweet teen romance. So the main character, Kaz, is a white non-binary kid who lives in a kind of small town in Minnesota, and a black family moves in across the alley with a girl Kaz's same age, Aisha.
Okay.
And they're both comic book nerds. So they
Oh,
meet when they're
sweet.
like, yeah, they're 13 and they're nerds together and it's super cute. And then part of the book is Kaz trying to figure out their non-binary gender identity.
Okay.
And Aisha and her family are from California. So she's like, it's non-binary, like that's no problem.
Right. Minnesota, California. Yeah.
Right, right. And then meanwhile, as they sort of work out, I'm not spoiling you too badly because this is, you know, kind of before the halfway
Early
point of the
on.
novel,
Gotcha. Yeah.
work out that they can actually date each other by the time they're 15. And then start 10th grade, and there's a lot of implicit racism in the school system. And so Kaz is trying to figure out how to talk to other white people about implicit racism and how to say, like, you need to stop doing these things that are harmful to Aisha. So a lot of it is that, but some of that is done in the context of their comic book nerdery. You know, so like Kaz has to kind of think of like, what's the metaphor I can use for how racism works? And it's the supervillain Apocalypse from the X-Men.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, because he has mind control. So Kaz is like, you know, especially if in their own mind to think about like, okay, it's like there's a supervillain trying to mind control me. So I got to pay attention and like, so that I'm not harmful, and then can kind of talk to their friends. Yeah.
This is really original, man. I am still reading this tomorrow.
Oh, good, thanks. You know, I'll show back up if we need to do a part 2. I'll show
maybe
back
we'll have
up.
to do a part 2.
Yeah.
But seriously, so are you? I mean, there's so many questions that came out of that. So first off, I got to ask: are you a huge comic book fan? I mean, is that?
Yes, moderately.
Yeah, moderately. I read them as a
Yeah.
kid all the time, but I haven't as an adult. But man, that's a great idea. That's a great vehicle to come up with for that. I've never even heard anybody doing that. So great. But
Thanks.
When did you write it?
I started it. When did I start it? I mean, I probably started in 2015, 2016.
Oh, wow.
It actually, like, it took me a little over 2 years. So I talked Bella into letting me re-release the anniversary edition of Being Emily to buy myself more time to work on this book.
Been there, yeah.
Yeah, because I was like, okay, like there's no fast and easy way for a white person to write an anti-racist book.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask also. Yeah, I was like, how did you pull that off? Because that could be challenging, especially, yeah, when you're talking about young adults. So that's
well, I think in some sense it's easier with young adults because you've got characters who are less set in their ways.
Oh, okay, that's fair.
You know, yeah, like generally, and I got to go actually do kind of workshops in a middle school about like based in the book,
Oh, okay.
and like working with like 11 and 12-year-olds. It's actually really easy as long
Really?
as I like bring the language down to be like, okay, so here's the thing, like you are in a culture that, you know, gives you certain perceptions.
Right.
It's like a bad guy trying to control your brain.
Yeah,
Here's how we're going to fight
that's
them.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Also, Nancy, thank you for all your questions, which we will absolutely get through.
Yes, we'll get those in a minute. Yes, fantastic. Thank you.
Yes. In fact, I think I might start with the first one
Yeah,
right now
jump right
because
in. Absolutely.
it goes to what we're talking about, which is like how difficult is it to work didactic information into the novel. Oh, it's easy to put it in. The hard part is that I have to take it out again.
Oh,
So there's quite a few scenes that just are not in there. You
really?
know, where I had to write it out, working it out for myself, and then I deleted them because they're not going to be interesting to read. And sometimes I could take what was in those scenes and put them in another scene, you know, because I think there are a couple pretty didactic-ish scenes.
Huh.
I mean, I hope they're also entertaining.
Right.
But you know, so I managed to kind of pull some other stuff from the deleted scenes in to inform that. But yeah, I think the secret to writing a novel that has a message is to just delete at least half of the message.
Did you, just to jump in, so did you use sensitivity readers or how did you,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, a lot of that.
Yeah, this was the novel where I discovered the value of interviewing people ahead of time.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So I've got 2 Black friends from California, and I basically sat down with them individually and was like, help me brainstorm Aisha's family. Like, I could do all the thinking in the world and I will not come up with her family. Could you please like help me brainstorm what her family is like? So they did. So that's
Brilliant. Yeah. Perfect.
yeah. So that was good. And then I made sure I had at least 3 Black women beta read it.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And I will say Patrice James, who is in GCLS, was really great about both beta reading it and then helping me construct a couple extra scenes that I needed. So I could, you know, kind of Skype her and say, I need this thing. Like, I need to have a scene that's about Aisha's hair, but I don't want it to be like whatever thing, you know, what I'm going to think of. So let's think about what would be an interesting way to have that on page.
That was
Plus
such a great scene. Such a great
thanks.
scene about her hair.
Yeah.
At the party and going out in the kitchen, and Aisha is all upset, and Kaz not really not getting it, and her asking not to touch her hair in public. Oh, I loved that scene, Rachel.
Oh, thanks. And it was, I mean, it was interesting for us to come up with it because, you know, like there is very clearly like, okay, don't just go touch Black women's hair, which people do way too often. And like, but then it's like, well, what if, you know, if you're dating someone who's white, probably there's actually going to be some intimate hair touching moments, but a white person is not actually going to realize to not do that in front of other white people who then might take license with it.
Yeah.
You know, so kind of getting those layers. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is much easier though with teens to write the dialogue because they're less defensive.
I don't know. That would seem, I'm just a little intimidated with writing about young adults and people that age. So I don't know, but that's really cool that you can channel that. It's awesome.
I think some part of me is stuck at 17. So, yeah.
Well, I'm stuck at, yeah, never mind. So.
No, really, feel free. What age are you stuck at?
Oh, 13.
13? Nancy, do you have an age?
47.
47? Oh.
That was a good age too. I like 47. Yeah, I like
strong
that one.
choice.
Okay, what else we got? I don't have it open.
Oh, I'll read these. Yeah. Okay. Which novel is my favorite? Oh, I can't answer that because the other novels will just get me in my sleep. I don't know that
picking your favorite child.
Right. I mean, I think that I definitely have had different reasons for writing my different novels.
Sure.
And you know, they've all delivered on it to some degree, some better than others as I get better as a writer. But this one, like, I think I like it a lot because I took the time that it needed and I like all the pieces in it.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Oh, and you're from Minneapolis. Fantastic.
Oh, wow. What a connection.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yes.
Could
Um,
I ask your
yeah,
name,
please.
interviewer from GCLS?
Oh, it does say GCLS. Well, I'm Casey Luck. I'm one of the
Oh,
directors of membership. Hi.
oh, hi, Casey.
Hi. So yeah,
I just,
I got a,
I just read one of your novels recently about the bar.
oh, nice. Ruby's. Yeah, everybody wants
Ruby's,
to go to
yeah,
Ruby's, but yeah,
Ruby's. Oh, I
yeah,
really
I'm
enjoyed
the
it.
person who answered the text 15 minutes ago. So
Thank
well,
you.
let me put on a shirt and I'll be right there. Instead of my pajama top.
The text with help. We can't interview Rachel. Or,
Yes, I'm glad to be here though. This has been fun already. So I probably should do these in the future. So my
Well,
first
good.
one.
I'm glad we've converted you.
My first one. Okay, what else we got?
Let's see. Which character do I most closely identify with? Oh, Nancy, I'm just connected because I see here you're Nancy Manahan of Lesbian Nuns Breaking the Silence,
yeah.
Wow.
which I believe was actually one of the few lesbian books that was like available in my late teens.
Probably was.
Yes, yes.
Oh,
Oh, I'm having kind of a
awesome.
flashback. Fantastic. That's a
Good
classic.
group, yes.
Yeah.
You could have found it at Amazon bookstore or actually almost any bookstore back in the 80s, late 80s.
Well, I came out in 87 and I was in Ohio from 87 to 89 because I was pre-college. So I suspect it could have been the Worthington Public Library.
Ah,
Yeah.
Worthington, Minnesota?
No, Worthington, Ohio. Worthington
Oh,
outside
Ohio.
of Columbus. Yeah, yeah. They had William Faderman Surpassing the Love of Men. Like they actually had someone had a tiny dedicated lesbian section.
Mm,
And it may, and I think that's,
yeah.
yeah, I think that's where I found it.
I
Cool.
So I actually, in 87, graduated from high school and went into the military, and I was in Washington, D.C., and I went to the Lambda Library in DuPont Circle and found a lot of books there. There was a quite a selection. I was very lucky to go from small town Oregon to that, so it was pretty awesome. Anyway, it's not about me. Sorry. Go back to
No,
Rachel.
by all means, by all means. It's about all of us because we
Yes.
stuck it out. We're still here.
We're still here.
Are we the only three?
There's still a person waiting. Uh-oh. Guess I should put that person in. Running the polls here. Hope they're recently waiting. There she is.
Possibly
Lauren.
the most dedicated book club ever.
It is. We are all getting little badges. This is little pins. Something.
Well, thank goodness it's being recorded so people can hear this.
Yes. And we may have to ask Rachel back because that was not fair. But all right. Is there more questions? Oh, we want to get through as many as we can.
She's got 4 books to talk about. You could have her back 3 more times.
Awesome.
Yeah, well,
I have no
like I
problem
said,
with that.
I've got a new one coming out Tuesday.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and it's about religion and spirituality, among other things. Speaking of lesbian nuns.
Oh,
So.
you tackle topics. Let me tell you.
In religion.
Oh, sorry, Nancy, I missed that.
Oh, I saw you had a degree in that area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's my undergrad. Is that in English? Okay, I'm going to answer your next question, unless you have a more pressing
Lauren,
question.
you can unmute yourself and turn video on. They haven't locked us out this time.
Oh, well, I might have supposed to do that, but I don't have any instructions. So welcome. You're being videotaped. You're part of this now forever.
You're also welcome to just turn your mic on to ask questions and not turn your video on if it's some,
Yes.
late in the evening, afternoon, and your hair's funny or whatever.
Maybe I should have that.
I've been teaching, I'm teaching creative writing right now, and my class is at 8 a.m. and some of my students are on the West Coast. So for some of them, it's 6 a.m. So whenever they turn their video on, like their hair is, it's pretty great.
Nice.
Okay, I'm going to answer with which character do I most closely identify? With Kaz, of course, in this novel. Non-binary nerd. Yeah, and a little bit with Wolvie the dog. So importantly, Kaz, the main character, has a dog named Wolverine, which is how Kaz and Aisha meet at the beginning. Because that's, an obvious comic book nerd reference. And then Wolvie actually gets a couple of mini scenes in the book. I've been thinking for a while about how to have a dog character without having talking animals. I have nothing against talking animals, but Rita Mae Brown does them better than I could, so I'm not going there. So I managed to get some scenes in where basically Kaz is interpreting Wolvie's body language for us and giving us, so I thought
Clever.
that yeah. So
Yeah,
I
well
identify.
well, Rachel. I loved those scenes
Oh, thank you.
of the dialogues with Wolfie. But
My
question
dog
was
helped.
about all three of your published books so far. With which of all of those characters do you most identify? Not just the silences. So Emily and
that is a tough call. I mean, in a sense, Kaz has my gender. So in that sense, I'm very close, like we're very close, but also Kaz is more small town than I am. I am not particularly small town. And sometimes it's Lauren in My Year Zero, which is my, like, doing over my early dating life novel. Yeah, so I would say probably those, like Kaz and Lauren are the two that are closest to me, and a little bit Nico from Nico and Tucker. Everyone in my head will get mad if I don't say that I'm also strongly identified with Nico.
well, I thought I'd read all three of your books, and now I see I've missed two of them.
Oh yeah, well you've only missed
Lord.
1.5, I think, because
Nico and Tucker.
oh yeah, Nico and Tucker. So Being Emily, is the first, and then Just Girls is kind of the companion novel, and then Nico and Tucker is the sequel to Just Girls, because I had to figure out if Nico and Tucker were actually going to date, which obviously is how the title came about. Because for those of you who have not read all of them, in Just Girls, I kind of break Tucker, and so then I was like, okay, I have to give her part of a book to get well. And then I want to know if the Nico and Tucker relationship is going to work. So, yeah. And so those three go together, Being Emily, Just Girls, Nico and Tucker. And then My Year Zero came in the middle just because I had to write it. It was like life events happened and I had to write it. And okay, I will tell you all because we were in this intimate book club setting.
Yes, we are in an intimate setting.
Okay, serious voices for a minute. So, my first girlfriend actually died at the age of 42. And in part, I think it is rooted in, her being bisexual and all the biphobia and bad health outcomes for bi people. And so I needed to put her back into the world. So I made her a character and wrote a book about it. Yeah. And I needed a do-over for the ways in which we hadn't connected. At that age. Yeah. So that was My Year Zero. So that was written in a kind of furious rush.
Right.
Yeah, because we had just, I kind of recused myself from her life after she got married. Because I was like, you probably don't want your, awkward person and then only come to find out later that she was super proud of being bi the whole time and I could have stuck there. So yeah, so that kind of hopefully mended that, at least in my mind.
Right.
Yeah.
Reading is therapy.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, and so is writing now a little bit too. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, a lot of times I do a book because I'm working something out for myself. Usually it's not that, well, okay, maybe it usually is that dramatic actually. Usually there's not as dramatic a life story that goes with it, but a lot of times it's, I'm struggling with something, and so I'm gonna work it into a story so that I can work it out, what I think and, how I need the world to be structured.
Cool. That's heavy.
Yeah. I think she wouldn't want us to be too heavy about it. So, because she was always very funny. So we should not get too heavy. And then, In the Silences, which is tonight's book, was me working out a lot of I think in 2015, certainly as a nation, a lot of us went, oh shit. Like once the Trump campaign started to get up and going, I was like, there are still that many really racist people in this country. Wait, I am missing something. And then I was also seeing some of that happen at work to a friend of mine. Yeah, and kind of the implicit racism where nobody really thinks they're doing anything particularly bad, but they actually are. So that to me was the challenge of this book, was how do I communicate that and communicate it in a way that's engaging enough that that's fairly easy to interact with, you know? Because I think it's tough. I mean, certainly for me as a white person, I have my defensive moments when it's like, so these things are all terrible. And I can be like, okay, I'm going to need to like take some moments to go work that out. So it was a way for me to think about like, how do I work out for myself that I have this stuff implanted in my brain that can hurt people I care about, you know, and how do I talk to other people about that? And so then obviously comic books, supervillains, cute dogs.
Wow, what vehicles? I love it.
Yeah. So
we had someone else join. I don't know, Lauren, if you had any questions, if you want to throw them in the chat. We're taking all questions and we're apologizing. Well, they're not. I am apologizing for GCLS being a little late. So here we are, and I'm Casey Leck from Director of Membership, if you didn't hear that. So,
I feel like it's possible we just started celebrating the election results on Saturday and some of us haven't stopped yet.
Stopped, that's right. Oh, were there other ones in the chat? Let's see here.
I think we did many of them.
Okay, cool.
Well, I do have another question, Rachel, if you're open.
Oh, I will take all the questions, please.
I'm curious about the range of characters who are either allies or antagonists. There are so many of them, and they all seem to occupy a space with Milo and Mrs. Warren maybe being on one end of the spectrum, and several other people being on the other end of the spectrum. I wonder if at any point in the book you actually map that out in a chart. So yes?
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Tell me.
I don't think I have the chart on this computer, otherwise I would screen share it. But yeah, I absolutely do. And sometimes I'll do, I think John Truby in Anatomy of Story actually does conflict squares, where you show 4 characters and sort of how they ally or antagonize each other. You know, because like in the book, so like Brock, who's the obnoxious brother, his antagonism of Aisha and his antagonism of Kaz are going to be different. You know, so then I can see like, oh, that's the, you know, so yes, I use sometimes paper, but usually Scapel, which is a pretty nice, inexpensive mind mapping program. And anytime I have trouble getting my head around like a constellation of characters or something, I'll map it out.
Very cool.
Yeah, and go ahead.
Teachers as well. You had to keep track of all the different teachers.
Yeah, well, I also use a spreadsheet for all the characters to make sure that, and it's got usually, you know, it's got kind of all their basics, like how tall they are, hair color, eye color, what they tend to wear, and then their mannerisms. Yeah, because it's going to be easier for you as a reader if I've got distinct character mannerisms that I'm repeating that help you remember who this character is, you know. And tell you things about, like the fact that Brock never wears, like is always wearing sleeveless shirts. You know, like that was kind of part of his clothing mannerism situation that tells you that he's a little douchey, a little bit. So there's I think a couple different scenes where I mention his sleeveless shirtness because Kaz also finds it obnoxious. But that's in a spreadsheet somewhere where it probably actually literally says douchey sleeveless shirts. Yeah, because and when in the, like, I don't put it all, it doesn't go all in the first 2 drafts, it goes in when I'm editing. And like I'm thinking about, okay, like I'm always kind of aware of, as readers, I'm asking and sometimes making demands on your attention. So I want to make things easier for you, especially when I'm trying to tell you something kind of complicated or difficult. You know, it's like the more difficult my message or scene is, the easier I have to make it for you to come through it as a reader.
Sure.
I mean, I think that's just polite.
And obviously you do it really well, so.
Thanks. It helps that I have a pretty fickle attention span.
Yeah. You
know, I don't like being bored or having to slog through some scenes to get to where I want to be. So I try not to do that to other people.
Gotcha. Cool. So I don't know how long you want to go on. I mean, obviously we started really late, and it is a little after 6 my time. I'm on the West Coast, and we can keep going if you want to talk about your most recent book, because like we are taping this, and it will be out there for people to watch later. So if you want to talk about your upcoming book, I think that would be a great use of time.
Well, especially since we've got Nancy here.
Yes.
And I can get your opinion about this.
There you go.
I'm going to show it to you all again, even though it's backwards and it's just going to look weird.
No, it's not.
But anyways, it's Sinclair. Oh, it's not, because Zoom
Straight
fixes things.
line.
Okay, good. Excellent. Okay, so this is the book, Sinclair.
Gotcha.
And it's about a 17-year-old girl who is queer and knows it and has had a crush on her best friend for years, but unfortunately did not ask her out in time. So now her best friend Kinsey, Kins for short, is dating this other girl. Sinclair's parents are out of the country for the summer because they have a fair amount of money and the house is being remodeled. So Sinclair's older brother is staying with her and kind of managing the remodel while the parents are away.
Mm-hmm.
So of course, this is going to be the perfect summer for Sinclair to find herself, you know, and to find God,
right.
and to find this. And her parents are devout atheists and are kind of scornful about all things religious. So, you know, they kind of, you know, sent her to church and temple early when she was young, but then, you know, stopped that. So she hasn't really been encouraged to explore religion or spirituality. I'm telling you the long version of the beginning.
That's awesome.
Okay, good. So it opens with her actually leaving her friends partying at her house. She's in culinary club, so it's a dinner party. Because she doesn't want to hang out with Kins and Camden and their cutesy datingness. And she's going to go into the woods by her house and learn to meditate. So she goes into the woods and she sits down with this meditation book, and it's getting dark, so she puts her phone flashlight on, you know, which of course illuminates herself. And from across, her full name is Emma Sinclair. She goes by her last name. From across the river, someone says, "Emma, is that you?" And it turns out this is actually her grade school friend Avery, who moved away 6 years ago and is back for the summer. And so they have this fateful meeting, and then Avery teaches her to meditate because Avery is Wiccan and Buddhist and all the things. And so it looks like it's going to be this perfect summer romance, but it isn't.
Oh,
it is not.
Nice twist. Because now I'm thinking, all right, that sounds like a good little romance novel.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I started out like it's going to be like the big hurdle is that like she and Avery hang out for a few hours, but they forget to exchange phone numbers, and then they don't realize they still don't have each other's contact information because they lost contact, you know, when they were 11. And so the first few chapters are like, you know, can she find Avery? Is Avery real? Is she making this all up? But that gets resolved really quickly. And then it's a series of comedic events and mystical ones.
Sounds awesome, actually. Yeah, totally.
I'm
totally into that.
Wanted to do a mystical comedy kind of. Yeah.
So
and there's still
comedy...
some romance.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Is there comedy in the other ones then? I mean, with comic books, I kind of assume there's some lightheartedness.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I would say that all of my novels have some lightheartedness. I think like Just Girls is my least lighthearted.
Yeah. Okay. Just with that more serious subject matter, obviously. I was just wondering how you brought that in.
Yeah, well, generally, I mean, I kind of figure if I'm going to tell you serious stuff, I should be lighthearted with it. Otherwise, it's just a slog. So like In the Silences, it's very sweet. Like the tone of In the Silences is sweet and lighthearted, but it's not comedic. You know what I mean? Like deliberately funny things don't happen, whereas in Sinclair, deliberately funny things happen. Like there's a few moments of just believable ridiculousness.
Okay.
So I would say that's the difference. I mean, Sinclair is also, it has its sweetness, but it's also meant to be pretty funny. Because all these things start happening, and you know, you kind of can't tell, is it the hand of God, or is it, you know, just a lot of funny circumstance.
Like that. And so when did you start writing this one? How long does it take you to write a novel?
This one, I think it's a year and a half.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, generally it takes me like a year and a half to 2.5. But I overlap. Sometimes I'll overlap novels, you know. So I'll like for example, I had a finished draft of Nico and Tucker when I started writing my year 0. So like I put that on hold, wrote my year zero, you know, that may actually have been my shortest. That might have been like 15 months because I was on fire. And then came back to Nico and Tucker. So the whole time period of Nico and Tucker's development was probably 3 years.
Gotcha. But the other one you just had to write, so you just broke it.
Yeah, exactly. And this, I mean, the writing of Sinclair, like year and a half-ish, but I've been wanting to do like that kind of coming of age self-discovery mystical novel for, I don't know, probably a decade. So I did look at an old draft, actually more than, it might have been from like 2009 when I was trying to do it seriously, and I had this super heavy, super serious.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So then I was like, okay, let me just scavenge the parts I like out of this old draft and then make it really funny.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nothing better than an old draft to come back to.
Yeah, it was tough because there's some parts of the old draft where I was like, oh, I really like this, but I can't, like, this is not going to work in a funny novel. So.
But you can repurpose that stuff for something else.
Yeah.
That's a nice thing about it. Yeah, never throw anything away. Yeah.
No, for sure. I have like, you know, vast electronic files.
Yeah, me too.
Yes.
Did anyone else jump in? I don't think so. My compadres who said they were going to jump in and support me have apparently gone out for tea or something because they're not here.
Wow.
They're like, we got her. She's on. Let's go.
Exactly right.
Oh my goodness. So where can we find your books?
Pretty much anywhere you find books, I think. I mean, you can certainly buy them from the Bella site,
okay,
which is great because then, you know, Bella gets to keep more stuff from the books. Yep. You know, you can order through your local bookseller. You can find it on the online book selling sites.
Okay, like the Amazon and the others. Yeah.
Exactly.
Gotcha, the big ones. Okay.
While you're asking me that important question, I should also say that I have a launch party for Sinclair on December 9th.
Oh, okay.
So I will, you know, watch my Twitter and website and other places online.
Wonder if we can tag that in here somewhere. If you
wait, hang on. Hold that thought because I think I've got, here we go.
I'm such a rookie. I don't know what we can put where, but if you had a
way
to show us.
There's the link to the event. Next Chapter Books, Macalester College, and Quatrefoil Library, which is one of the nation's oldest LGBTQ libraries, are sponsoring it together.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I'm selecting all. I'm trying to grab it so I have it too.
Oh, that's great.
I can also email it or message it to you via the Twitter messaging.
I think I got it.
You've been a member of Quatrefoil for years, Rachel. That's great.
Oh yeah, I keep forgetting you're in Minneapolis. Yeah. Where in Minneapolis are you? Are you in South?
Well, we were in South Minneapolis, 48th and Nicollet for Becky, my wife Becky and I, for 27 years. Now we've moved to Carefree, which is a lesbian community in North Fort Myers, Florida.
Oh, cool.
That
sounds idyllic.
It's a nice adjustment. Yeah.
It is idyllic. Yes.
Oh.
We have found our Michigan Women's Music Festival.
Wow. Could you please do us a book that's just lesbian retirees breaking the silence so that the rest of us have something to look forward to?
Yes, that would be awesome.
I can tell you this is the happiest time of our lives.
Oh, that's what I want to hear.
Yes.
Fantastic.
It's awesome. Yeah. And Becky just has a new book out. It's actually set in Minneapolis. It's called A Light on Altered Land.
Oh, cool. All right. I'm going to figure out where I can make a note.
You can note about that if you want to.
Yes.
Oh, actually, I'll put it here.
You want to type it in there?
And it's about two older women.
Oh.
Yeah, we need more of that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I say awesome one more time. Someone reaches through the screen and slap me. It's a really bad habit, and now it's on camera.
Yeah. No worries. They're much worse on camera.
Yes,
habits.
That's true. My cats haven't jumped up here or anything. I'm actually shocked. But so I unfortunately don't know what the usual questions are. I'm sure there's a list of questions we're supposed to have, but if there's anything else you want to tell us, now is the time.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. Let's see. I mean, mostly, I mean, I think the core message of the book, at least one of them, and one that I like to leave people with, especially white people, is, you know, we can do this anti-racism work, and we can do it without a lot of pain, actually. You know, like very much what I worked out for myself and putting the book together is I can step into this like a superhero, you know, and it might be a superhero like the Hulk, who has to be really, really responsible. You know, like he's got to be really aware of how his powers work or he's going to hurt people. But, you know, like privilege is like a superpower. And so we can step into it with this sense of, you know, caution and respect, but also like a willingness to be on a team. You know, that's why I use the X-Men in the book and not like Iron Man. Well, also I'm not an Iron Man fan, but you know, it's like how like X-Men is really an example of how to have a diverse team work together, you know,
Yeah, it
and so
really
like
is.
that's, yeah. So it's
Yeah.
like we're, you know, like, and everyone's got to understand their own powers and other people's powers, how these work together. But, you know, I think that we're in a time in America where we're doing the work, but sometimes we're doing the work from a place of pain and guilt
Mm.
that is not, it's not empowering and it's not actually very helpful, instead of coming into it from a place of like, oh, okay, you know, I can be responsible for the ways in
Right.
which my whiteness has made me dangerous. I can make things better for the people around me. You know, and with how, the other thing I like about the X-Men metaphors, it's not like an I'm going to come in and save the day, like, you know, white hero complex, but just like, okay, I'm going to be a functional member of a team who's doing something good.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's a good aspiration. So
That's
yeah.
a great way to come up with it. That's perfect.
Yeah, thanks. I was like, okay, I would like to take some of the painfulness out of this so that we can get the work done.
Mm.
Comic books.
Yeah,
I love it.
it's such a hopeful book in that way, Rachel, and I think it may be the only book I have ever read that makes a connection between a character's struggle with increasing awareness of racism and her white privilege
Mm-hmm.
and her gender issues, and how the same apocalypse is in all of our heads, ranting about, telling us lies about both gender and race.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
such a cool thing to try to do in a novel. And my question about the didactic parts,
Mm-hmm.
um, I was a little nervous, and you pulled it off.
Thank
You
you.
were able to make it extremely educational and not be off-putting or too heavy. And so I know you must have had to kill a lot of darlings to do that. And I just want to say hats off to you. You succeeded.
You're reminding me actually to tell one of the most dramatic anecdotes about the editing process of this book,
Okay.
which is that Catherine Forrest sent me an editing letter that said, "I'm sorry, but this novel starts with chapter 9." Yes. And
So
then I screamed for about 2 days, and then I fixed it. So, and I was actually able to keep most, I would say,
Rachel, you cut out just for a minute there.
oh,
What did Catherine say to you?
the novel starts with chapter 9.
Oh no.
And she was right. And the problem was she was right. And I pretty quickly could see exactly why she was right. So I managed to keep part of chapter 1, but basically chapters 2 through 8, a few of them got moved later in the book and a lot of them just were cut.
that's 15,
Yeah.
20,000 words. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Ouch. Yeah. Yeah. Just off the chart. Yeah. Well, that was good that you took the advice. I mean, why would you not from that particular person, but still. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Amazing.
there was at least one didactic chapter in there, I'm sure. I think it was chapter 3. So yeah, yes, but thank you very much. I mean, it's definitely, my hope was that by taking a main character who's white and just like showing them working through the process, that it become like we can kind of see all the steps without it being like being told what to do or what to think. Because I also hate being told what to do, so it works out.
Me too.
Yeah, excellent.
Can I ask about your relationship with Bella Books? How has that been for you?
It's good. So far, every crazy thing I propose, they say yes to. Yeah,
That's a good relationship then. That's good.
It is.
Yep.
I mean, the thing is, like, most of it, like a lot of them, I was like, okay, I think they're going to go for this. Nico and Tucker was a little bit like, can I do another book on gender? Are we cool? And then when I got to proposing Sinclair, I was like, oh, are they going to say yes to this religion book? But they did. So that's been nice. I get many very sweet congrats from Linda Hill when I win stuff and get accolades and all that. So I feel like they're definitely on my superhero team, you know, and we're doing cool stuff. And I know that I'm pretty far outside, especially when they bought Being Emily, pretty far outside of the core, you know, focus of Bella. So to be like, okay, we're going to buy this young adult novel that, you know, has romantic elements in it, but isn't a romance. You know, I think that was a stretch, and I appreciate that they kind of keep letting me stretch.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
How many YA novels have they done?
No, I think they've done more. I don't know if I can look that up. They've done more in the last few years.
Okay.
I mean, I think like when Being Emily first came out, that was 2012, so it was 8 years ago. There was maybe one other YA author that was coming on board then, but now I think there's a few. I don't have a list handy, but also, I mean, we've all been benefiting by the fact that YA as a genre continues to sell and increase. Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
Rachel and CS, I don't know if either of you knows that Bella brought out a revised edition of Lesbian Nuns Breaking Silence in 2013, a year after Being Emily, I guess.
Yeah, that sounds I feel like every time I see something about that book, like I have a sweet moment where I'm like 16 again. So I feel like I had that, I was like, oh, I should reread it because it's been quite a few years, decades.
Me too.
If you do get the new Bella version.
I will for sure.
The old Naiad version, it's better.
Is it? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
but that was so radical when it came out. I mean, like in the late 80s, I mean, lesbian was still radical, but lesbian nuns was like, yeah.
1985.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes, I was still very in high school.
Too. All the days.
Well, thank you for blazing the path for us.
Yes, no kidding. Thank you very much for that.
And continuing to blaze it with the stories of Florida.
My honor. Actually, you may not know about On My Honor, Lesbians Reflect on Their Scouting Experience. That was my second book.
Oh, I don't know that.
Lesbians in the Convent, Lesbians in Girl Scouting.
Oh.
I mean, after the fact, those seem obvious, but...
They seem obvious, and neither one had been done before.
Wow.
So that's being re-released probably next month as an ebook, and it'll be back in print. It's been out of print for quite a while.
Nice.
I really would like someone to just make that into a Netflix miniseries.
Oh my gosh, yes, right?
Wouldn't that be great?
Yes.
The Girl Scout book? Or
wouldn't it? I mean, I haven't read the Girl Scout book, but just the concept of like lesbians in the Girl Scouting, so, like
all the adventures.
That'd be a great Netflix series.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, anything else?
Gosh, this has been great.
I think so too.
Thanks for showing up. I was hanging out because I was like, what if, I know it's at 8 Eastern, but what if they meant 8 Central and they just like got their wires crossed? And
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you so much for hanging out, because this has been great. I mean, this little intimate setting has been perfect. I think it's really worked out. Have actual conversations. So I think it's been fun.
Lovely.
So. Excellent. Well, yeah, if you need another one.
With Lynn Ames, I don't think the participants got to talk. I mean, the facilitator and Lynn got to talk, but I think all of us were muted and had our video turned off and couldn't do that, and so we had to communicate always through the chat function. So this is just bliss.
We're all just sitting down, having a little cup of whatever. It's just been great. I've had a great time. I'm sure I'll be told all the things I could have done differently, but hey, I get some kudo points for being here.
Oh, you totally do. You had minutes notice.
Oh my gosh.
She rose to the occasion.
Yes.
Thank you,
yes.
thank you. And we'll get Rachel back on here, when we actually get our times all set up, and maybe I'll host it again and have a sheet on what I'm supposed to be doing. So
That sounds good. That's yeah.
okay, I'm gonna stop recording and call it good, I guess. But we'll look for your new book, and people can look for your old book. And then
Yes.
yours
Yeah.
as well, Nancy.
They're both
So,
good books. They're both good.
yes,
So
I'm
pick
gonna read
what
them.
you're interested in. And
I don't know who else may be as convinced as I am, but I'm sure gonna pick them up because they sound really good.
I will definitely get your new book and the two I missed, Nico and my only year.
At my year
Only-
zero. It's my year zero.
year
Hang
zero.
on, I'm gonna type in the thing.
Yeah.
So
And
so
Nancy's
it's like
super happy because now there's a couple she didn't even know.
yeah. So it's like the
I can continue my Rachel Gold binge.
yes. Let me know what you think.
Yes.
Email me. I'm easy to find.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm around. And
All
talk about
right.
Minneapolis in Florida.
It's in there, my year zero. Okay, I see it. I think this
Yeah,
records
it's like
too.
if the way to remember it is you think about like your first year coming out. It would actually, because babies don't turn one until after a year, your first year coming out is actually your year zero.
Nice.
Got it.
And the premise in the book is you get a do-over. Like if you think you mess up your year zero, you get a do-over. In
I
year
like
one.
it.
Yeah.
it.
Excellent. Well, I'm gonna go play some Assassin's Creed because
Oh,
the
you have
new
the new
video
one
game. Yep, came out yesterday. So
Yes.
Ooh.
All right.
yes, and
Enjoy that.
you can play as a woman and romance other women. So I'm a hot Viking,
Oh,
and I'm gonna go
that's
find
nice.
some other hot Vikings.
About time. Okay. Bye, you guys. Have a super
Have a good night. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.